Okay, Rudy did it again. He went on 2 TV shows, shouldn't have gone on either of them, and made more confessions he shouldn't have made. So, Rudy Giuliani, of course, is Donald Trump's lawyer. God help both of them. And by the way, I hope he doesn't. But it's okay. Somebody's got to help him because Rudy's not helping their cause and Trump's not helping their cause. So what did he do this time? He goes on NBC, talks to Chuck Todd, and Chuck Todd asked him about, hey, were you guys talking to the Russians during the campaign? Because Donald Trump said over and over again that he had no dealings with the Russians, none, during the campaign. Giuliani not only says, yes, they were, but he goes beyond that and says, well, the dealings might have been all the way up to October or November. What? The election was in November of 2016. Did he talk to the Russians after he became president? October or November? Okay. Now, so what time in November is absolutely critical. But even if it's pre-election, so before you said you'd never talk to the Russians, then we found out about the Trump Tower Moscow deal, and then Michael Cohen said lied to Congress and said that you'd broken off those talks in January of 2016. Then later he came out and pled guilty and said I lied to Congress. And in fact, the talks went to June of 2016 after Donald Trump had already become the Republican nominee. Now today, Giuliani volunteers. No, it went all the way to October or November when no one else had said that. Look, they might be privy to information about what's going to come out in the Mueller report, and they're trying to get ahead of it. But either way, that is a stunning confession that, yes, the current president of the United States was having business negotiations with a foreign adversary on the chance that he became president. I mean, it doesn't get any worse than that, except for all the money laundering he did with the Russians for decades. So, now we're not done yet. We're not done yet. It's actually going to get worse. By the way, as I always tell you guys, we try to give you as much programming as possible. I'm trying to give you something right here before the football games start. Become a member, get our dozens of shows, tyt.com/join. I got this beautiful Colorado snow in the background. Reminds me of tyt.com/holiday. That allows you to become a member for free and try it for a week and see if you like it. See if you like the post games, aggressive, progressive, old school, all those shows. So now let's get to the second part that's terrible. So then Giuliani goes on Jake Tapper's program and then says, well, the president might have talked to Michael Cohen before and or after his testimony. Wait a minute. You guys have been denying now the BuzzFeed report saying that the president directed Cohen to lie. Now you're saying, well, yeah, the president might have talked to Michael Cohen, but he thought he was being truthful. Now, it was really important. He thought Cohen, and I thought Cohen was being truthful. Wait a minute. You just admitted in the earlier show that that Trump knew that they were talking to the Russians all the way to October or November. And so if he talked to Michael Cohen about his testimony, Michael Cohen says, we cut it off in January, and in fact, they didn't cut it off for another 10 months, then the president, almost by definition, knew that Cohen was lying. Even if he didn't know Cohen was lying ahead of time, he definitely knew Cohen was lying afterwards. He knows that the negotiations went to October or November. How do we know that now? Because Giuliani just admitted it in the show before. So when Cohen says, no, we cut off our talks with the Russians in January of 2016, he says it in front of Congress. At a bare minimum, Trump knows that that was a lie and doesn't say anything about it. In fact, when asked later, says, no, I had no dealings with the Russians. Now, his fallback is, hey, I didn't say it under oath. Cohen said it under oath. But nonetheless, that means that, yes, you knew that Cohen was lying, and we'll see. Look, BuzzFeed says that report is 100% correct. We've double-checked and triple-checked with our sources. I know Bob Mueller's team came out and said there was inaccuracies in the report. That doesn't mean that it's false. It means there are some inaccuracies in the report, and I'm not sure, as they're about to release their report next month, they don't want anybody stepping on any toes. They don't want any leaking. They don't want any of that stuff. So you take Mueller's statement for whatever you think it's worth. You take BuzzFeed's statement for whatever you think it's worth. But here we have admissions that are pretty much the same thing by the president's own lawyer. So did Trump know that Cohen was lying all along? Well, now it's a fact, but you knew it anyway. Of course he did. Of course he did. And then, of course, Giuliani can't help but top it off with another doozy. This is one of my favorite stuff. Back on Chuck Todd's program on NBC, he is asked about obstruction of justice and, hey, if the president did direct his lawyer to lie to Congress, that's clearly obstruction of justice, right? The new incoming Attorney General, William Barr, in his confirmation hearing said that would be obstruction of justice. Giuliani's like, well, I mean, a lie, I guess that'd be obstruction. I mean, but it's not like he asked somebody to break anybody's kneecaps or kidnap their kids. I'm not kidding. He literally said that. He literally said that. The worst lawyer in American history. He says, well, my client might have done it. He might be guilty. But earlier he said, but is it really a big crime? It's not like he killed anyone, right? Now he says, well, yeah, he might be guilty, but he didn't threaten to kneecap anyone, and he didn't threaten to kidnap their kids. Worst defense ever, ever. You know why? Because Trump is incredibly guilty. And so there are no good defenses. It doesn't help that Giuliani's incompetent on top. But right now, again, they're in a world of trouble. So, tick, 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 tick. Can't wait to see what happens. Man, that report is coming. You want to talk about, oh my God, I got winter in the background. Trump's got winter in the foreground. Winter is coming for him.